Hello, and welcome to the Go There Do That podcast. My name is Ethan, and we are here with Heather, and today we are talking about one of my favorite state parks of all time. It is Pedernales Falls State Park. But just like our last podcast episode, I'll be asking Heather the questions about it. I'll pretend like I don't know anything. Like I'm an alien that just came in and is asking about what this park is. So, First of all, what is Pedernales State Park and where is it?
It is in Johnson City, Texas. So it's pretty convenient to like the Austin area and the San Antonio area. It's only like an hour from the Austin area, I guess, depending on where you're driving from in Austin. And then like an hour and a half from San Antonio. So it's probably like the best state park for those two. It's in the hill country, so it's really pretty. Kind of going up to it, like the drive out there is pretty, and then of course the park itself is pretty. From the DFW area, it's a little bit farther. It's like 4 hours, but still worth it in my opinion. And then like from Houston, it's like 3.5 hours. So not too bad. Good little like day trip from those locations.
So what are the coolest amenities? What's the draw?
So for like the amenities, there's camping, like you can camp there. There's 69 electric and water campsites. So for like tent camping and RV camping, it's like a decent sized park that allows for like that kind of accommodation. And then they do have primitive sites as well. That's like a 2 or 3 mile hike from Wolf Mountain Trail, I believe. So it's kind of cool no matter what type of what type of camping you're into. Like if you kind of like to glamp, like we have a van, we camp in a van. We have a place to stay if you're tent camping. And then if you want to get a little bit more rugged and have to hike into your site, they have that too.
What's the falls part of Pedernales Falls? What is that? Does it have falls?
Yeah.
What's that like?
I'll let you kind of speak to that more. Like, I feel
good.
like you have a better...
Good. Now I can pretend not to know. Okay. So yeah, that's the draw is the Pedernales Falls. Mm-hmm. You can go, when you walk down, there's a parking area and then there's like a half mile.
Yeah, just about.
To a mile, little walk on a gravel road. And then there's this cool overlook where you can see the falls where it kind of turns into more of a river. But the falls itself is just kind of not a traditional waterfall that you think of. It is just cascading rocks. Like you can see the layers slowly go down in elevation, but they're big rocks.
Yes.
And some of the water just slides on down like in little mini waterfalls, and some it just creates these little miniature rivers throughout. And then it goes into it's what you see as the Pedernales River. But the falls part is like a few miles long, and it's this really cool rock that is to us like a playground.
Yeah.
But not, if you fall, it's not soft.
Right.
So, but it is one of your favorite things to do.
Yeah, that was like
camping.
My favorite, favorite kind of type of, it's not really like traditional hiking in a sense of like there being a trail. Like once you get down into the falls area, it's just like kind of this vast rocky area to like explore and try to figure out different ways to get around like the bodies of water, because there are like pooled up bodies of water, and there's some that are, just kind of like puddle like, and then there's some where you can look down and it's like really deep, like it goes on forever, like and so I think it's called like, basically like hopping around on rocks is called like bouldering.
Yeah.
So like low level bouldering, although they do have like, you can do some rock climbing in Pedernales as well.
Yeah.
So that's not what we did, because we don't have that skill set just yet. But it was really fun to like, go on different paths in the rock, and like you'll have to like climb up in some areas, and it's like a choose your own adventure as far as that goes, because you can go one way, I can go one way. Somebody else might go another way. There's not like a dedicated path. You just like try to get as far as you can, which is fun. Yeah, that was like my favorite.
Yep. I haven't ever seen, there are times like there's a huge warning about flash flooding for the falls. Mm-hmm. I haven't ever seen it myself.
Because the rocky area is essentially like the bottom of a riverbed, you know, like, it can fill up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In a lot of rain. So that's something, because once you get to the overlook, there's a pretty long staircase that there's a couple different ways down, but it takes a while to get back up. But that whole area fills in when it does flood, and it happens suddenly.
Yeah, so it's important to pay attention to weather.
But there are also goats. They're now
supposedly
a legend to me. It's been brought up to me a couple times, but every morning or evening there's some goats that hike along the falls as well and get water and leave when there's no people. But that's something that I've always thought of. Like, I've went there a couple times just.
And they're not like traditional goats, they're like mountain goats, I would assume.
I haven't seen them.
You know?
There's I tried looking up photos online, and there's the only one I could find was at night. Somebody was doing star photography, but they'd seen them, but it's not clear image. So
they're like Bigfoot-esque.
Yeah.
Like people have seen them, but not
the
a
park
lot of
rangers.
Pictures. Yeah.
Park rangers are who brought
Told
it up.
you about it, yeah.
And there's cool fishing there too.
Yeah, well, because it is like you have the Pedernales River, so there's like swimming, fishing, all that good stuff.
But you can't swim at the falls.
Yes,
you
no
can
swimming at the
swim
falls.
in the river further down, and there are areas within the park designated for that. Because, I think the way the water rushes through all the rocks,
it would be dangerous.
Dangerous.
Even those like I was talking about those pools where you can just like see forever down. So like that would be dangerous to be swimming in.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, there's definitely some dangerous areas. I was like paranoid of like accidentally falling in, and then you're like in trouble for swimming, and you like didn't mean to go swimming. Which we did actually see somebody like fall in a little bit, but it wasn't anything too bad.
It was a bridal shoot.
Yeah.
And they had jumped, the husband to be jumped on a rock, and then they tried to get the wife, the bride in the dress, to jump on the rock, and she had slipped and fell in. Yeah.
Understandably so. She was like wearing heels too.
It's tricky. Yeah. It's a safe playground, but you can also fall in.
You have to be careful.
Yeah. So,
but there's other trails and hiking too. Like it kind of ranges from like pretty easy to challenging. The longest trail there is the Juniper Ridge Trail. It's like 9.7 miles. So that's pretty good, like trails for Texas State Park hiking, especially. Like we've been to some of like smaller parks, and you know they'll have like 5 or 6 miles of trails. So I think Pedernales is like one of the best Texas state parks because it just has like so much to offer. Like you have the scenery is beautiful. It's in the hill country. You have the river. You can swim. You can fish. You can hike, and there's a lot of hiking to do. You can rock climb. Just a lot to do. Plus, there it is in Johnson City, it is a small town, but it does have like it has some cool stuff to do there. Like especially at Christmas, it's like literally one of the best places to go for Christmas lights. Like they have a whole thing. Yeah, and they're like known for it.
Yeah. We drove through there recently and saw them in the daytime, but they are pretty serious about it.
Oh, we have O'Malley thinking about joining us, our dog.
What else?
That's pretty much it. I wrote some things down, just like the Twin Falls. Like, I know that you've done a lot more hiking there than I have, so I feel like we could kind of bounce off of each other as far as like kind of specifics about fun hiking stuff to do.
That's like a more scenic overlook type Twin Falls trail. It's off of the campgrounds, so it's pretty close. You can one of the more accessible hikes, because some places like the falls you have to drive from the campgrounds to or the swimming area.
Yeah,
there is like a parking area for that to walk down. So the Twin Falls off the campsites, very short, a little strenuous. You get some elevation up and down off of rocks, but the view depends. I mean, imagine little baby twins. It's not two giant cascading waterfalls.
Yeah.
I do imagine that some people might be underwhelmed when going, because they are difficult to see. There's
from the overlook.
There's one waterfall like direct that you can see, and there's one off to the side that you can also see. So people are tempted to go down there
to get closer
and look at them, but you are not supposed to, because the vegetation there is needs to be undisturbed. But it is cool to look at, and I mean, it's a very shaded too, which was nice, because I've been there a few times when it was really hot, and that's a more refreshing
That's true
hike.
Yeah, it's a nice shady trail compared to like you don't want to be bouldering in the falls when it's like in the middle of July. No shade. And the
rocks reflect the heat back up at you.
Yeah.
So
that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think we've been twice together, and then I've been camping with like some of my friends, and then you've been camping with a friend, and then you've been camping with your family there like 500 times.
Forever, yeah.
But I know the first time we went with like your family, but then another time it was like in August.
Oh yeah.
And we were kind of like, we wanted to go camping because we hadn't been camping like over the summer, and so we were like, oh, I really want to go camping, but it was still kind of early in Texas to be camping and not be miserable. But I remember it being exceptionally hot.
Now we remember why we don't go camping as much in the summer in Texas. Because don't want to escape.
Yeah, and we took O'Malley down to like, I think is it the Trammel crossing area, or is that another area?
Well, for what?
Where you like walk along the river, not Trammel crossing area? Is that what I'm thinking of?
Yeah. I mean, it's like a bridge that's normally covered with water.
Right.
That you can go across. It's not really a bridge. It's more like a concrete something.
Yeah.
But yeah, the water is normally on that part.
Over it, yeah.
And you can cross to get to the longer trails.
Yes.
Across the river.
But we like took O'Malley down there to try to cool down.
Yes. Yeah, okay. Yeah. Most of the river is accessible in the park. But you have to kind of, that's what's cool about that place, is you can just kind of swim wherever. Except for the falls, but
I think there is a designated swimming area as well. But
yes, I mentioned that earlier.
Oh, sorry.
It's before the Trammel crossing. It's the same road that takes you down, but you kind of split off earlier. But yeah, that's it's a good park.
Yeah,
I've been all over the trails. I'm pretty sure we did. If the Juniper Trail is the one I'm thinking of, we did that one. 1 year. If it goes along the park's edge, the border, it took forever.
I think it does. Yeah.
So that we did that one, and we now you know how long 9 miles is. You know, but I went with my dad and little brother and then a friend, and you get like halfway through, and it's like we just have to keep going, because if we turn around, it's just as long. Like you start to question everything. And then you enter this mode of, I'm not like having fun anymore. It's more just getting, I can't.
Yeah. When you went on it, you didn't know how long it was going to be.
But you have to finish.
Because that's kind of how I always like look at how long a trail is before I start it. Because I'm like, okay, I want to know. But I've been camping with your family and they kind of just like,
I don't know. It's just
they'll just like go. Yeah. So I could see that. Is that the story? I think you've told me that before where like Josh was like little. And so he was like, I wanted to be held like coming back, but then everybody's like dying because it was so long. Or is that a different one?
There's a few stories with that.
I guess so,
of somebody, a little sibling wanting to be carried.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Well, I was imagining that. I was like, oh.
That was the long one when my dad said his arm almost broke because my little brother was just at that age where he could be carried and,
Yeah.
But
he was heavy.
But he was heavy and he could walk. He could have walked the whole thing. But then it was like not having fun anymore. Like, can we just...
Yeah.
Can you fly me out of here?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And that was when he was like, I can't move anymore.
Yeah. What's your like favorite memory there? Or at least one of, you could probably do a couple.
Oh, there's a time we went, there was one of the little pool areas was full of, I believe it was carp, which are
at the falls?
Bigger. Yeah. Bigger fish. They're just fun to catch because they're bigger and stronger. But we had a bunch of fishing poles for each family member, and some people went off and some people stayed. But we were setting fishing poles along the edge, and we would wait for one to start moving, and then we'd have to run and grab it. But it was like we would just catch them immediately. It was so much fun to just catch and throw them back in. But it was like a game because we had more fishing poles than people at that point.
Yeah.
And my fishing pole, I remember the brand saying Mantis on it. But I remember leaving it alone for a minute and I turn around and it's gone. And so I was like, oh, did anyone take it? Where is it? And they're like, no, nobody touched it. So a fish had pulled it into the water.
Oh, yeah. So
the friend, Jeffrey, who I was with, we were like, we're going to wake up early tomorrow, go to the falls and see if, see if we can fish it out. I don't know what we were thinking.
Yeah, see if you could find it.
See if we can find it. If we just forgot, I don't know. So then on our way down to the falls, we saw a guy walking up. He was fishing too, but he had 2 poles in his hand. And we were like, hey, where'd you get that other pole? Was it in the water? And he was like, oh, I caught. And he called it a gizzardy goo. He had his own name for the type of fish that he caught.
Yeah.
But he's like, I kept pulling it, and I realized he was already caught on another pole. So he pulled in my pole.
So he fished out,
from his fish.
Catch.
The fish had 2 hooks in its mouth. And so he was like, yeah, and another fishing pole came up with it. So I figured I'd keep it. And I was like, oh, yeah, we literally lost one yesterday. We were going down to look for it.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, here you go.
That's crazy. That's crazy that you ran into him. Like, because you could have just missed him or whatever. And then that's also crazy that he got it in the first place.
We said we would wake up early, but we woke up way later than we said we would too.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And then fits. He was like there leaving his early fishing.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
That's cool.
Yeah, it was cool.
Yeah.
That's just one of those.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then there was a time I discovered that certain times of the year, if you go there early in the morning, there's like when the sun rises, the way the water reacts, there's a fog that comes up at the falls. I mean, most rivers kind of have this heat exchange going on later in the year that creates a fog. But I discovered that one morning when I went there for work, go there, do that stuff. But that was really cool because there's little tornadoes that form in the fog, and then the way the light hits it.
Yeah, that's some of my favorite like footage that you've gotten is those shots of the fog at the falls. But
I just happened upon that too. And so then when I took my friend Zach there, that's what we went down there to see, and it was there. It was in.
It happened. It was still happening.
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
I think it's when the air is cold but the water is warmer.
Yeah, yeah. Because the first time that was like beginning of November, that you saw it, and then when you went back with Zach, that was February.
Yeah.
So yeah, the air is cold, but then oh yeah.
I don't know. It's neat.
That is cool.
Because I think the water's heated as it goes down along the rocks in the falls, and then it hits
because the rocks are in the sun.
Where it washes out into the river is where most of the fog is.
That's cool.
I don't know, but it's neat. Lots of memories. I mean,
yeah,
a lot of hiking. Yeah, that's just where I went a lot as a kid. What kind of
it was your mom's favorite state park, so
yeah,
y'all spent a lot of time there. Yeah.
Yep. And there was a time I remember this is what was weird about when we started booking, because normally when I was growing up camping at state parks, you didn't have this higher demand for spots. You could just show up,
yeah,
and then be like, hey, can we have this spot? Normally we would just show up
ask for your favorite spot.
Yeah. And there was a couple that we liked, and it would always be open.
Yeah.
And then once we started going 2020, I didn't really understand how. I was like, how is this full? How is there?
Right.
Yeah.
Why are we having a hard time getting camping spots?
Because it was never a problem for a long time growing up.
Yeah.
And, the place hasn't changed.
Right.
People's motivations have.
Yeah.
And so,
which is good.
I mean, in booking, that's a very popular one.
It is.
Yeah.
It's hard to get into. Yeah.
Because it's close to a big high population.
The location is really good because of how close it is to like Austin and San Antonio. Like when I went with my friends, we were camping there, and we kind of like we were also going to like New Braunfels, but we wanted to stay at the state park, so it's like just really in a good location for like a bunch of places. But it's always booked whenever I look.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I guess that's what's difficult. It's hard to be more spontaneous about seeing a place. You know, you have to think in advance, like, when am I going to have time to go? Yeah. And because you can't say, oh, this is the weekend, can we go now? And then it's like the week of. So that's what's great about you is you would plan this out anyways 3 months in advance or 6 months. What's the longest you can book a state park?
6 months.
6 months, right? Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a great one. I like it a lot.
Yeah, I would say it's like top 5 of what we've been to so far.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just a lot to do. You'll go there once and not have everything accomplished, which is fine. Because if you're in the area, hill country, it's not that far to go back to.
Right. That's true. If you can get in.
There is a lot of spots, though. There's like...
Yeah.
You said 69.
Yeah.
So... What else? What are your vibes?
Yeah, I mean, I liked it a lot. I have less to say about it, but yeah, I really liked just like playing around on the falls. That was like my favorite part of it. And then it's just really pretty. And it's not that far from where we are, so that's like nice because it's not like a whole thing to get there. But yeah, I really just would like to hear more about what you have to say about it because I know I've heard some of your like Pedernales camping stories, but
there's also an old historic cabin. It's next to this natural spring called Jones Spring, and then I don't know what the building was like. The Joneses that lived.
Probably.
So they live next to the spring, and there's an old house that it's a longer hike to get to it, but it's really cool because they have an actual old historic building that you can just look at. It is pretty not there as much anymore, but there's like their fence that they made of rocks and stuff. It's within the park.
That's cool.
But it's called Jones Spring, and there is a natural, you can see the water coming out of the ground, and
Yeah.
It's very cold. We refilled our water bottles there because it's,
that's
a spring.
cool.
So yeah, I was holding on to that one. Mm-hmm. But that's one of the longer
hikes.
Yeah. But it is rewarding. Mm-hmm. Because you're not supposed to take anything, but you can see old. I mean, when we went, there was like old nails and tools and stuff just laying around still. They were all rusty, but yeah, it's like left over from 100 years ago or more.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's some people that live there.
Yeah.
It has been a cool homestead to have. There's a cool bird blind too that's pretty accessible. I'm thinking of it right. Every state park has a bird blind though, but
for the most part.
When we went, the birds have always been active.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I do remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's a good one. It's very, you sit in a bird blind sometimes it's just kind of hot.
Yeah.
And there's, like what's going on, but whenever you go, the birds are, for us, subjectively experiencing. That's where we saw our first painted bunting. Oh, wow. So a beautifully colored bird. There. I guess it's a rarity to see. Didn't get me into birding, but there was a person there that's like, we saw a painted bunting, and it was like, oh, and he had a nice photo of it.
Yeah.
Those photographers like showing off their photos.
Yeah.
Yeah. What else? That's the park. I mean, then you can go there and experience it yourself.
Yeah.
But
that would probably be for the best.
You want a river. You want long hiking. You want cool views. You want bouldering. Fishing.
And the bathrooms some of the bathrooms are renovated. There's like one of the bathrooms in the campground that's been like renovated, and it's very nice.
So check that out too.
Because it has it's like one that has individual showers. Like you can like shut and lock the door. Yeah.
That good. Not just a little curtain, a thin cloth of a curtain.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. But then there is another bathroom that's like not updated either, but
so watch out for that one.
Yeah.
Oh, there's also what I've discovered going there. Depending on, I've noticed some years you see a lot of foxes, or some years see a lot of pigs or hogs, and some years there's a lot of. So I asked a ranger about that once. I was like, "Why? How come there's no foxes this time? Or how come there's not any? I used to see pigs here." And he's like, "It just depends on the season, because some animal breeds better one year, or a couple or there's like cycles." So I've been going there enough to like have seen different animals kind of thriving.
Yeah.
And then there's way less of them, and then there's way more.
Yeah.
So it's like I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah.
But it's a good season for these animals. Like they're, whatever happened, they had enough food. They were able to win out, but it's not like they murder each other. It's just, you see more of them.
Yeah.
More often. But there was, the years of the pigs was scary, because you just kind of get, I don't know.
Because they're like the wild hogs.
They dig up the ground.
The rutting ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're pretty destructive. But yeah, we were tent camping there once with friends, and we were hearing them all around us. There was one time raccoons were all around, and they do that little hooting, like whistling sound.
Yeah.
And there was just a million. It sounded like they were all around us. And you don't leave a cheese it out, or they'll visit you. But yeah, it's just weird, because I've heard different animals or seen different things that happen, and it's like, oh, the raccoons aren't here this year.
Right, like it feels like a different park in that way, almost.
Yeah,
like
At time. Night, the ambiance, tent camping especially was. You hear everything, and so it's like scary when there's bigger ones, bigger animals, and. Yeah.
My favorite would be to see like the foxes.
Mm-hmm.
That would be my favorite year.
Yep. I don't know what rhyme or reason there. I mean, sure, there's a biologist out there.
Yeah. The last time we went, all we saw was deer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the given. You always see a deer too. But that's all of my knowledge that I have off the top of my head that I brought with me to this. I could talk more in depth about more experiences, I guess, but those are longer stories. This is just just keep it light.
Okay.
So
that sounds good. So that's Pedernales Falls.
Mm-hmm. So thanks for watching, everybody. And remember to go there, do that.
Yep. My stomach just started growling, so it is time for us to go.
That's all. Thanks.
I'm hungry.